Welcome to TradeTheNBA.com. This is John. This report is for the 27th, and well, we can see we've got a little bit of a shakeout decline developing at the start of futures here. It would be interesting because we're moving the orange back into that zone, and with the cyan leading, that would be a little bit more bearish. So we had a brief stint of up, back, and this is pretty much holding. I mean, we're right at the ABM levels. In fact, let me just put those up there so you can see them. 2126, ABM yellow, and originally we were working off the higher points here, and then we dipped below. The 2129.75 became the level, and then we had the reset, and then the rising ABM off of the converted buy signal that started right here. And so it's just pretty much holding its own. We didn't get to my 2154 yet, and some of that is the tightening of poles. As we expected, we would see a breakout if things were looking solid, but as expected, within the final 2 weeks, we expected them to come down into range because that is typically how it works. They use them as a little bit of a tool to influence, and then boom, they come back to a medium because they ultimately have to be correct at the end, and so we would expect them to get into a 3-point range or whatever, and that's typically where things have always been in the past, unless something outlandish is taking place. So here we can see from the NQ. Now the NQ suffered a little more from its return, and it filled back in this positive extreme, which is all we were looking for it to do. Nothing too spectacular. Candlestick-wise, this would be like the following three methods, and then you would turn around and shoot up to new highs. This is typically how that would work. And you can see the Dow outperforming. So this is going to get us back to what I talked about, that consistency. So Dow moves back, people move to a little bit of quality, NASDAQ fades a little bit, we get equilibrium, and then all the markets are at parity and can move forward from there. Slight improvement for the euro there. First dip below orange, but way out of line with the steel at this particular point, so unlikely to survive it. In fact, could get overbought here very quick. Still would need to get into the minus 13 range before you would expect to turn around. No shock here as we head back to the lows with TLT and bonds and USO. A little bit of the breakdown from the turnaround here. We don't have orange in between the gap, but we've just had a steady breakdown here as the meeting between the cyan and green, meaning shorts and midterm, long-term buyers, started to fade, and cyan started taking the lead as we ended up with matching highs, lower shakeouts, that we've talked about before, and finally reaching a distribution level there with the minus 67 on that reading, and just the break below the green ABM becomes the typical one to look for. Nothing shocking with that. Gold, likewise, caught in that range. You see the orange stuck between cyan, red. Fed rising shakeout, which has not been bad. I mean, from original turn right there, but still, we weren't expecting anything too exciting. And we've had this 121 line here as sort of like a resistance point, and it's pretty much held up pretty even through there. Let me shrink this just a little bit from a 5K standpoint. So continuation move was short algo above the long algo. We've stayed down below that. We ended up with a couple of buys, and this was an interesting series of buys. Started right here at the 29, which has been that level from the green, and then the yellow now at 27. So between 27 and 29 has been that buy ratio, and sure enough, that led to a move all the way back up to previous range, but then we got overbought. You can see that with the purple line here. Once you get above it from a shakeout standpoint, as long as the cyan remained below red, you're still bullish, and then boom, once it converted, we ended up with that short little down tick, and then we ended up with another little buy above the long algo right here, and it's sort of been back and forth going across there. So all in all, not too bad. It was interesting from a base standpoint to see that build up. We talked about on the Skype chat that we were looking for it to move along. It just took a while for them to absorb it all, and then boom, the shoot up, and then they started to liquidate once we got into the positive extremes. And those positive extremes starting right about here. So once they were hit, Sometimes you get that downdraft, and that's where it continued to escalate further, and then we got way oversold here with that dip of the red. In fact, what is the reading on that? Because once you get down to that minus 21 range, right there it is, 21.59. Yeah, you start to get that turnaround buy pop. Varying degrees of success on them. I mean, the last one you had right here, again, small little pop, just get you back up to the short algo. In this particular case, you hit the short algo, but we ended up with positive shakeout, and that really started to carry. The shakeout went positive, right about there, just above the long algo, the 29. Again, same numbers, not a coincidence. This is exactly why we put these up, because the algorithms are working off of them. And it seems like an arbitrary number, but it's what they've based on. And regardless of what the value is, we just have to go with where they're at and play off it from there. And so interesting that we're starting to have a little bit of a bleed as far as a little bit of weakness. So there could be a little bit of rotation going on. It's not dramatic, and we're not seeing big numbers yet. But if there is an indication that they think that there's a significant change, I think that we're going to start to see some really significant volatility in the lead up to the end of the month. Plus, you also have the fact that it is the October 27th and moving into the 29th range. For the weeks out another day, we're likely to see a little bit more activity, which is good. We'll be right on the inside of it and be able to see it. We could be moving towards a new buy signal here as the orange is almost about to break below 10 versus the 9, so it's already below it at this particular point. It's a little hard to see it right there. That's why sometimes you have to look at the values, and they're right up here at the very top of the omega line right here, and that way it's easy to follow what they read. And actually, steel moving to 669 needs to get over that 7.5 for a nice clean buy turnaround, and then come back below for the signal. And it's not surprising because we're just right about where that buy signal, and this just shows you it takes time to accumulate what they need before they're able to move it, particularly in after hours kind of setup like we're at now. As always though, continue to look for me on the Skype chat. Trade well.